I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 7 years now. We got married young, built a pretty decent life together, and honestly, I thought we were solid. She was always a bit of a bitchy girl, sharp-tongued, quick with a snarky remark, but I figured that was just her personality. She could be charming when she wanted to be, but mostly she had this side that made me feel like I was walking on eggshells half the time. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago. At first, I just thought she was stressed at work. She's a marketing manager and her job's always hectic, so I didn't press her. But she started coming home later and later, claiming she was just burning the midnight oil or meeting with clients. I knew her boss, Jonathan, was a good-looking guy, tall, confident, the kind of guy every woman would look at twice, and I'd seen her glance at him a few times, the little smirk she'd give him when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I tried to brush it off, tell myself I was just being paranoid, but then came the little things. Her phone became more private. She'd hide it whenever I got near, even though I never really cared about her phone before. She started taking more calls in the bathroom or the bedroom, whispering. I caught her lying about where she was during a few weekend mornings. One day I found a hotel key card in her purse, one that wasn't ours. She saw me notice it and just rolled her eyes, saying it was a gift from some client. Yeah, right. I knew something was up, but I didn't have enough proof. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I mean, maybe she was just working late. Maybe I was overthinking it. But then last week I got the confirmation I didn't want. I was at work just doing my thing when a coworker, Jenna, pulled me aside. Jenna's been there about a year longer than me, and she's pretty straightforward. She asked me if I'd heard about Lisa and Jonathan. I thought she meant work stuff, but then she dropped the bomb. She said they'd been seen together at a hotel near the office. At night, no less, she'd seen them through the window, kissing, holding hands. My stomach dropped. I felt this cold rush like I'd been punched in the gut. I was in shock for a second. I didn't even know what to say. It was like my mind was trying to process this betrayal, but all I could think about was how Lisa always said she loved me, how she'd never do something like that. She'd lie so easily, too. I knew she'd deny it if I confronted her, but I also knew the truth. And that truth was staring me in the face now. I didn't sleep that night, just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, rage and heartbreak swirling inside me. How could she do this, after everything? After all the years, the promises, the fights we'd had. It felt like my world was shattering. That was just the beginning. I started digging through her stuff, looking for more evidence, trying to piece everything together. I found her texts, flirty, suggestive messages with Jonathan, even some outright explicit ones. She'd been lying right to my face for months. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious all at once. And the worst part, I had no idea how to confront her without losing my mind. I knew this was going to change everything, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for that. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to confront her, but I also knew it was going to be a fight, a mess. Lisa is the kind of woman who loves to manipulate, deny, twist stories around to make herself look innocent. She's a pro at lying her way out of things. Still, I felt like I had enough proof now. I couldn't just let this slide without saying something. The first time I brought it up, I waited until she got home from work. She looked irritated, that clipped, bitchy attitude she always had when she didn't want to deal with something. I didn't waste time. I dropped the bomb. Lisa, I know what you've been doing. I know about the hotel, the messages, everything. Her eyes widened for a second, then she sneered. Are you serious? You're crazy, Mike. You're just jealous as usual. Jonathan's just a friend, a mentor. You're overreacting. I didn't let her brush past me. I pressed her harder, showing her the messages. I'd found the hotel key she'd left in her purse. Her face turned red with anger. That's none of your business. You're just paranoid. You always jump to conclusions. You're insecure. It's disgusting how you're accusing me of something I didn't do. She lied so smoothly, so confident in her own bullshit, I almost believed it for a second. But I knew better. She was unraveling fast, her mask slipping. She started crying, fake tears, saying I was hurting her, that I was crazy, that I didn't trust her, that I was insecure because I was jealous of her success, of Jonathan. She kept going on and on, spinning this web of lies, trying to make me feel like I was the one at fault. It made me sick, the way she could lie with such ease like it was nothing. I felt the anger boiling over, but I also felt something else, this deep, painful disappointment. I thought I knew her, but I was just fooling myself. She's a bitch, a manipulative bitch, and I was just too blind to see it. I told her she needed to come clean, but she refused. She denied everything, even the hotel part, claiming I was just imagining things, that I was suspicious because I didn't trust her. That night I slept on the couch feeling hollow. I kept replaying everything, her lies, her sneering face, the betrayal that was sitting right there in front of me. The worst part was knowing she'd been sneaking around with my boss's mentor, someone I trusted, someone who was supposed to give me guidance and help me get ahead at work. Instead, she used him to cheat on me. Over the next few days, I started watching her more. I noticed her phone was constantly in her hand, her calls more secretive, her texts more suggestive. I caught her sneaking out once, heading to that hotel again. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. How could she be so blatantly disrespectful, so blatantly cruel? But here's the thing, you get to this point where the rage is so overwhelming it's almost like a fog. I didn't want to just yell and break things. I needed a plan, a way to make her pay for what she'd done. I started thinking about how I could turn this around on her, how I could really hurt her like she hurt me. That's when the idea started forming. I'd been reading about revenge, about how sometimes you have to make someone feel the same pain they caused you, but smarter, more calculated. I decided I'd gather more evidence, not just for myself, but to make her realize she couldn't lie her way out of it anymore. I got a few hidden cameras, enough to catch her in the act if she slipped up again. I also arranged for someone to follow her, just to see if she'd go back to that hotel, or if she'd meet up with Jonathan again. I knew she'd deny everything if I confronted her directly, so I planned to catch her red-handed. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some fool she could manipulate anymore, that I knew the truth, and I was ready to fight back. Honestly, I was scared, not just for the betrayal, but because I knew this was going to tear everything apart. Still, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. She thought she could run around, lie, cheat, and somehow I just accept it. Well, she was wrong. I wasn't going down like that, not without a fight. She might be the one cheating, but I was the one who was going to decide how this ended. And trust me, it wasn't going to be pretty. So, with my mind set on getting to the bottom of this once and for all, I started executing my plan. First thing was the cameras. I found some discreet ones online, small enough to hide in my apartment, mixed in with some that I could place around her usual spots. I didn't want her to suspect a thing, so I chose locations where she'd be most likely to meet Jonathan or go to that hotel again. I also hired the guy to follow her just to get real-time updates on her whereabouts. It was creepy, I know, but I needed proof. For days, I kept my cool. I watched her every move through the hidden cameras, saw her leaving the house at night with her phone in hand, then later, returning with a different look on her face, like she'd just gotten away with something. That's when I started feeling the satisfaction creeping in, like I was finally in control of the situation. The adrenaline was high, and I was ready for her to slip up, for her to get caught. But Lisa, that bitch was sharp. She caught on to something was up. She started acting even more bitchy and defensive, snapping at me over the smallest things, trying to throw me off her trail. She'd claim she was just stressed, tired, working late, or just taking a break. She denied everything about the hotel, about Jonathan, about the texts, but I wasn't falling for it. I knew her so well by then. I could see her lying through her teeth, her eyes darting around, avoiding my gaze. One night I set up the cameras to record her sneaking out again. I stayed in my room, heart pounding, waiting. Sure enough, she slipped out around midnight, phone glued to her hand. I followed her with the camera feed on my laptop, watching her walk into that hotel. I knew she'd deny it if I confronted her again, so I decided to wait. Let her think she's got the upper hand. I wanted her to believe she was in control, that she could cheat and lie all she wanted. But the truth was, I was already planning my next move. The following morning, I woke up with a strange mix of rage and relief. I'd seen enough. I had the proof I needed. Now it was time to cut through her bullshit and make her face the reality. I sat her down, and when she walked in, I didn't waste a second. I slammed the folder of evidence onto the table, screenshots of the texts, hotel receipts, the recordings from the night before. Her face drained of color. She sputtered, tried to deny everything, but I wasn't having it anymore. "Lisa," I said, voice tight with anger, "I know what you've been doing. You've been screwing around with Jonathan, haven't you? You've been lying to my face for months." She looked at me with that same bitchy sneer, trying to act innocent. "Mike, you're crazy, you're overreacting. You're just jealous because I'm successful, because I have a life outside of you. You're insecure." She spat the words out like venom, but I was done listening. I told her it was over. That I wasn't going to put up with her bullshit anymore. That I was done being her punching bag, her fool. I wanted her to see that I had all the power now, that I knew everything. She kept insisting she loved me, that it was just a mistake, that she was stressed out and needed some fun, but I saw through her lies. It was about control for her. She loved to manipulate, to lie, to cheat. And I was finally taking that control away from her. The emotional toll this was taking on me was immense. Anger, humiliation, heartbreak, all rolled into one. But in that moment, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I'd been blind for too long, that I'd been giving her too much rope. And now I was finally free of her bullshit. I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after what she'd done. The betrayal cut too deep. I needed to step back, breathe, and decide what comes next. But one thing was clear: I'd never trust her again. And honestly, I didn't want to. After I laid everything out on the table, Lisa's reaction was exactly what I expected. She went into full denial mode. She tried to spin it as some kind of misunderstanding, claiming I was paranoid and jealous, that Jonathan was just mentoring her, that she was tired of the boring marriage and it just happened. Yeah, right. I saw the truth in her eyes, the way her lips curled into a sneer when she lied, the way she tried to turn everything around on me. That bitch always loved to make herself the victim, even now. I told her I was done listening to her lies. I packed her bag, told her to leave, that I never wanted to see her face again until she could come clean and own up to what she did. She threw a fit, screaming at the top of her lungs, calling me insecure, a control freak, a terrible husband. She said I was overreacting, that she loved me and wouldn't do something like that. But I knew better. I knew she'd been cheating on me, probably for months, and that she'd lied right to my face about it. That night, I felt an incredible mix of relief and despair. Relief because I finally knew the truth and had taken back some control. Despair because I realized how much I'd been blind, how much I'd trusted her. And anger, so much anger, boiling inside me. I kept replaying the moments I'd caught her lying. The times I brushed off my gut feelings, the times she manipulated me into thinking I was the crazy one. Now I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, lying bitch who thought she could get away with anything. In the days that followed, I started to piece my life back together. I moved her stuff out, changed the locks, and blocked her from all my social media. I told my friends what happened, and they couldn't believe she'd been so blatant. Some of them told me I was lucky to get out early, that I dodged a bullet. But honestly, the wound still felt fresh. Every time I saw her face in my mind, I'd get this ache deep inside. Sometimes I wondered if I should try to forgive her, or if I should just cut her out completely. The pain was real, but deep down, I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. I also started digging into her phone and emails more, trying to find out if she'd been doing this to me longer than I thought. I found more texts with Jonathan, even suggestive photos she'd sent him. The worst part, she lied about it. So convincingly, I'd started to doubt myself. She was good at spinning stories, at making me doubt my own instincts. That's what made it so hard, knowing she'd been lying right in my face while she was sneaking around behind my back. It was like she had this game she was playing, and I was just a pawn she'd used and discarded. I knew I'd have to make some big decisions. Part of me wanted to fight for the marriage, to try and fix things, but after everything I'd seen, I wasn't sure it was worth saving. It was like she'd shattered the foundation of trust between us, and I didn't see how we could rebuild that without her honesty. The other part of me, small but persistent, wanted revenge. Not just to hurt her, but to reclaim some sense of dignity after being humiliated like this. So, I started planning my next moves. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't just some fool she could lie to anymore. I was going to make her see the consequences of her actions. I was thinking about confronting her again, showing her the evidence I had collected, making her realize I knew everything. I also considered telling her boss, Jonathan, about what I knew, but I wasn't sure if that was the right move. I didn't want to ruin his career, but I also didn't want him to think he could get away with cheating with my wife. Honestly, I've never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. But I also feel a strange sense of empowerment now. For the first time in years, I'm taking control of my life again. I don't know what the future holds, whether I'll forgive her or cut her out completely, but I do know one thing: she's not going to cheat on me and get away with it. Not without paying a price. And I'm going to be the one to make sure of that. In the days that followed, I kept my focus on gathering more concrete proof. I didn't want any more slip-ups from her. I knew she'd get desperate, and I was ready for that. I hid more cameras around the house, especially near the spots I suspected she'd go: her car, her phone, even her favorite spot at the hotel. I also kept following her, just to see if she'd make another move if she'd slip up again. The plan was to catch her in the act one final time and then finally confront her with everything. It was a game of patience I had to play. Every night I'd watch her leave, then come back, her face more flushed and guilty-looking each time. She started acting more paranoid, more defensive, and I could see her frustration building. I knew she was starting to feel the pressure, and that was exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to realize she couldn't hide from me anymore. That I was one step ahead, always watching, always knowing. One night I saw her slip out around midnight again. I followed the live feed from the camera as she walked into the hotel. I was just about to confront her then, but I decided to hold back. I wanted her to think she was still in control, still able to lie her way out. The more she believed she was fooling me, the better the payoff when I finally exposed her. I waited until she was probably with Jonathan, then I made my move. I called her from a blocked number, pretending to be someone else, letting her know I was onto her, that I knew everything. Her reaction was priceless. She panicked, tried to deny, but I had the evidence. I told her I was coming over to talk, but really I just wanted her to sweat, to feel the fear I'd been living with for months. When I arrived at the hotel the next morning, I brought a copy of the evidence: screenshots, recordings, the hotel receipts. I sat her down, looked her right in the eyes, and said, "You've been exposed. I have everything. You're done lying to me." She looked at me with that same bitchy sneer, trying to act like she was the victim. "You're psycho, Mike," she spat. "You're making this all up. You're just jealous because I don't need you to make me happy. Jonathan is just a mentor. You're insecure and pathetic." I felt a surge of anger boil inside me. I told her I'd had enough of her bullshit, her lies, her manipulations, her cheating. I told her I wanted a divorce, that I never wanted to see her again, and that I was done being her fool. Her face twisted with fury. She screamed, called me every name in the book, tried to guilt-trip me, but I didn't care anymore. The damage was done. I knew the truth, and she knew I knew. That night I drove home feeling a strange mixture of relief and rage. I'd finally faced her, finally uncovered everything. The betrayal was out in the open, laid bare for her to see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. The aftermath wasn't easy. I had to move out of our house, change my phone number, and start rebuilding my life from scratch. But honestly, I felt freer than I had in years. The weight of her lies, her manipulations, it was finally gone. I realized I'd wasted so much time trying to hold on to something that was never real. I'd been living in her shadow, always trying to please her, and she'd just been using me. Now I'm in a place where I can breathe again. I don't know what the future holds, whether I'll ever trust again or if I'll find someone new someday, but I do know one thing: I won't be anyone's fool again. If I learned anything from this whole nightmare, it's that sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands, face the truth, and cut out the poison before it destroys you. And I'm finally doing that. Looking back, I realize how much this whole experience has changed me, probably forever. I used to believe in the idea of marriage, in loyalty, in trust. Now I see it's not always that simple. Sometimes people are just different than what they appear to be. Lisa was a manipulative, selfish woman who thought she could get away with anything: cheating, lying, sneaking around. because she believed she was smarter than everyone else. But she was wrong. What hurts the most isn't just the betrayal itself. It's the realization that I was blind for so long, that I let her treat me like I was insignificant. I gave her my trust, my love, my years, only to find out she was just using me as a backup plan while she chased after her own selfish desires. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a lesson I won't forget. No more excuses, no more justifying her actions. She chose her path and I chose mine. The truth is, I'm still healing. Some nights are harder than others. I catch myself wondering if I'll ever find someone who really loves me, who's honest and loyal. But I also know I need time. Time to rebuild my confidence, to rediscover who I am outside of her shadow. I've started focusing on myself, working out, reconnecting with friends, picking up old hobbies I'd neglected. I want to be better, stronger, more cautious. I don't trust easily anymore, and honestly, that's probably a good thing. In the end, I've learned that no matter how much you love someone, trust is everything. Once that's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. I hope other guys out there listening understand. If you find yourself in a similar situation, don't ignore your gut. Don't let the person you love manipulate or lie to you for too long, because once the trust is gone, everything else crumbles with it. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm finally free. Free from her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. It hurts, but I'm also relieved. I'm finally taking control of my life again, and that's the best feeling in the world. If anything, I hope my story shows that you can survive even the worst betrayals, because at the end of the day, you're the only one who can truly save yourself. And to anyone going through something similar, stay strong, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to walk away from the poison, because you deserve better. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and real love, and no lie or betrayal can take that away from you unless you let it.